Joining us in the Movieland Spotlight is James Remar, an actor known from his appearance in The Warriors, Dexter, Mortal Kombat, and Sex and the City. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've grown up a fan watching your work for decades, so it's quite a privilege to chat with you today, buddy.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
So you have a new TV show out this month, reviewing and exploring the origin story of Pennywise the Clown for It, Welcome to Derry, which is now streaming on HBO Max just in time as a perfect treat for Halloween. Can you tell us a little bit about the show?
It does cover more than just the origins of Pennywise. It expands on what is Pennywise and what is where does he come from and why did he take on this form? And we didn't see Pennywise in the first episode. I don't know how many episodes you've seen, but we don't see him until a little bit later in the game. But we see various iterations of the entity that Pennywise is a part of. And Pennywise or the entity, it has a 27-year cycle. It will emerge and then feed on the terrors of children and kill a bunch of people and then go back into hibernation. So we begin to understand that's what's happening and has been happening for a long time. And our particular set of episodes takes place in 1962.
Yeah, well, horror prequels can sometimes feel predictable because the audience knows what's coming. Like, what makes Welcome to Derry still suspenseful and worth discovering?
Well, you know what happens at the end of Hamlet. Yeah. And yet we keep doing it. You know what happens at the end of Romeo and Juliet. And yet we keep doing it because fresh performers bring fresh energy and fresh perspective, to stories that may be quite old. Yes, we know what's going to happen in the very end, but how we get there is really the treat. And the ending can still be a surprise, and it can still be emotional, and still hit you right between the eyes. It depending on how intensely, the cast offers their new experience with it.
Yeah, obviously it's not a retelling or a reboot again because it's already been done with the movies, and it's exploring the origins of the clown hasn't been done before. So I think that's the core here that I'm excited for. But when I first heard of the show, I was expecting a lower budget version, an alternate take of the movies. But after watching the first couple of episodes, I was just floored.
Bro, they spent a fortune, and they spent a fortune twice. Because we got shut down by a massive strike that lasted 6 months, and they brought us all back, and they kept all the sets and they kept everything intact, and that cost money, and that shows you how much they believed in it and how much they were, willing to back it up and back up Andy and Barbara Muschietti in realizing their vision. They could have just said, screw it, or shut the whole thing down, shelve it for another day, but their belief in it really allowed them to pull out all the stops, and the budget was more like a feature film budget.
It looks like a movie. I'm sitting down here, but my calculations are correct. This is going to be an 8-hour cinematic movie. I'm so excited.
That's what you can thank Andy Muschietti for. The guy's a cinematic director. He directed both of the It movies that and It in Chapter 2. That we saw fairly recently, and he's an amazing cinematic director with an incredible vision, and he really knows how to direct actors at the same time, which is a very rare and wonderful combination. He can set a frame and trust it, and it's always artistic and always beautiful, and he can talk to actors, and the best evidence of that is how intensely the kids turn in their performances. The kids have got to trust you to give their all, and they give their all.
Yeah, they really did. It's very rare to have a child actor put in that much, especially terror. I was feeling it for these kids, especially in episode 2. Oh my God.
Well, there's half a dozen of them. There's 10 of them.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of kids, and they all give it 100%.
Yeah, well, Andy is a brilliant director. I love, he's obviously the first 2 It films, and I love his latest take on The Flash. And I've seen a little cameo on the comic book for The Flash, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that, but yeah, what was your experience working with him on that?
I found a younger brother with whom I'm very, very easily connected. And I felt instantly loved and accepted and basically adopted by Andy and Barbara. You're part of the family now, and we're not going anywhere.
Mm.
And that gives an actor like me a very strong sense of security and also a willingness to really push myself. They went out on a limb to believe in me and cast me in the role and had 100% faith in me no matter what, even after the strike and a bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm not a young actor, and the fact that they did that made me want to do everything for them. I see him as a younger brother. I see him as a dear friend, and I look up to him as a highly accomplished and very skilled cinematic artist.
Yeah, he really is. This is a full-blown horror spectacle filled with helium nightmares. The visual tone of Welcome to Derry is like way darker and more psychological than the films to me. Like, were there any moments during filming where you personally felt unsettled or surprised of the story's direction?
Several times. You've only seen 2 episodes, so I can't reveal the full arc of General Shaw. But he has been to Derry before. I'll say that much. So there's a realization element and a homecoming aspect to it, and a confrontation of deep-seated childhood fears that suddenly makes sense. This has been driving them all along, and it's it's unsettling for sure. And my errors, my mistakes, in performance, because you always make them, have been very lovingly taken care of with good editing. So it's the guy has a descent. In the opening, you see him as just kind of a fatherly general who, is taking Major Hanlon under his wing, and the darker side and his clandestine efforts, to end the Cold War, or war as we know it, begin to unravel. There was plenty of scary moments. It's hard to charge up that emotion. I have to live that emotion like it's really happening. So I'm breathing hard and sweating at the end of those takes.
That's great. Well, that's raw emotion, and that's what I want to feel when I'm watching those films. And it's definitely selling it for the first 2 episodes. I'm like extremely excited to check out the rest. You've had quite a bit of screen time so far with Jovan Adipo, like great chemistry between the two of you. And I love his work in Overlord. Great movie. What was it like working with him? And I assume like moving forward, you two are going to be the core like tag team when you're on screen.
Other than when he has, his family and
Yep.
and Chris Chalk's character, Halloran, he and I are pretty much joined at the hip. Jovan is an immaculate actor. The guy can do anything that's asked of him precisely and perfectly, time and time and time again, without looking like he's working hard at all. He seems very, very much a part of the characters he's playing. And he's a very, very gifted actor. He has a very strong, I don't want to say natural, I say a very, very genuine energy. You really believe this guy's Major Hamlin, and everything that he, talks about is stuff that's happened to him. And he plays this thing about fearlessness very, very wisely. It's not with his chest stuck out and saying, I'm not afraid of nothing. He's a guy that doesn't experience fear because of an injury. And yet he's aware of it. It's very, very strong. He's a very, very good craftsman. And as a person, he's very easy to get along with, and I really love the guy.
Pennywise, obviously well-recognized boogeyman. Were you a fan of the movies prior to being cast in the series?
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Skarsgård is kind of extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's you see clownish characters in characters in the extreme that are the boogeyman, that are the monster, and they almost never have any real sense of danger that's kind of tantalizing at the same time. When he invites the little girl, oh, you're just like me. in the second one where he meets her under the bleachers, it's one of the most horrifying scenes I've ever seen.
Made me sad,
people
that
don't like
scene.
me. It's so sad. He uses his phony vulnerability to lure this little girl, and it's just diabolical. It's the height of evil, and yet he does it with this kind of childlike voice that's it's masterful. It could be weird in the extreme, but he just doesn't play it that way. He plays it like, he really is. You're looking into the eyes of a shark, with a mouthful of teeth. It's automatically terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to ask for any spoilers to check if you had any scenes together, but without spoiling it, say, did you ever see him on set transform into the clown? You did?
I did, yes. It's like watching Leonardo da Vinci paint. I'm in awe of great actors, and I got to meet Bill without makeup, and he was standing out in the parking lot with his daughter, and he was this tall, very, very beautiful, baby-faced, handsome guy with the energy of an angel. Very, very delightful man. And then he transforms into this creature that looks like it's having a good time, and it's intensely diabolical and intensely appetite driven. There's no, like a shark, like I was saying, there's no feeling. It's just appetite. And yet it's crafty. It's got intelligence, but it doesn't have any sentiment. It's amazing how someone who is such a warm individual, as himself, can turn into such a cold-blooded entity. It's just, I'm in awe of it.
He's taken on iconic roles like Nosferatu, for example, Pennywise the Crow. Like, he's just a workhorse and a powerhouse. Like, I haven't seen a role he's disappointed in personally, but yeah, Stephen King is arguably the king of horror, pun intended. How does it feel working under the banner of his work?
Oh yeah, it feels like you've been invited to the palace. It's you're like you said, the king of horror. He's more than that, though. He's probably the best known American writer in the past century. We had Mark Twain and Steinbeck and Hemingway. They're great writers. Even though Stephen does focus on a lot of horror stuff, the writing is really quite incredible. It's very picturesque. When I read his writing, it comes to life in my mind's eye, more so than almost anyone I've ever read. I can envision it, and that's why it translates to movies so readily. Not just because it's horror, but because it has a tremendous psychological impact. And I've enjoyed reading his writing long before I ever, crossed paths with him as an actor. So it's an honor to be invited into the House of King, the King's Palace.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Like, looking back, like, on your iconic role in Tales from the Darkside and now is horror a genre you enjoy working with it?
When it's good.
Yeah.
Now, Tales from the Darkside is not horror driven per se. It's emotional.
True, yeah.
It's about a guy that's in love with someone and has kids with them, and he has a secret. And he can't stand having the secret from somebody that he loves so much, and then he reveals the secret. It turns out he should have kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing premise.
It was heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
Why are you telling me this?
Oh, you promised you'd never tell.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me this? Well, all these years I've told you everything. Yeah. And it's based on a Japanese legend called Snow Woman, Yuki Onna, and there's the Snow Woman that lives in the forest, and she steals your breath if you're sleeping out there. And this guy's a woodcutter, and he sees her. He wakes up while she's killing his friend, and she's like, "Promise you'll never tell anybody that you saw me, and I'll spare your life." And he does that, and then he gets married. This girl shows up in his village, and it's the exact same story. Only he doesn't. She just abandons him. She doesn't kill him in the end of that story.
Yeah, that's even worse.
But it has classic roots.
So what do you expect fans to take away from watching Welcome to Derry?
Well, gosh, I hope they're entertained. I hope they, I hope they're entertained and they feel a universe that they've devoted so much energy to that they love, has been honored, and they feel satisfied that this iteration of Welcome to Derry, makes sense and fits into the Derry King universe overall, seamlessly. It doesn't feel like, an add-on. It feels like it's been there all along.
Well, honestly, I was expecting it to be mildly entertaining or like somewhat not as impressive as the movies, but I already love it more than the movies, and I'm only 2 episodes in, and I cannot wait to watch more. So I think everyone's going to be floored once they check this out. And if you haven't checked this out yet, put it on top of your watch list for Halloween. So, sir, I salute you. You are doing an amazing job, and I wish you all the best for this series. But yes, I've got one last question for you.
Fire away.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? I'm going to shove that bat up your ass and turn you into a popsicle.
Yeah.
Can you dig it?
Thank you so much for joining us, buddy. I really appreciate it, bud.
My pleasure.